hey, what if I made an energy drink called She's like, nope. Okay. What if I made an energy drink called No. Okay. Well, there's an energy drink called that exists for real. So, I mean, logically, should make an energy drink called
Maybe
if you kill me?
Maybe we should just sit in silence for a little while. Silent reflection. Let's make the tavern a place of silent reflection. Yeah, a place of silent reflection from now on. Okay. Okay.
This last couple of episodes that are going to come out also have an all new rejoiner that is going to be all snazzy and give you guys your new official deity titles and everything like that. So it should be pretty awesome. Yeah. But welcome everyone. It's time to wake up and get down on these pristine dreams. Tonight, you guys are in for a treat. This is Tavern Talk. This is our companion series to Pristine Dreams here at D20 Dreamland. I am your host of the show, GM Chavez. And with me, of course, is our party direct from Pristine Dreams itself, Cypher, Endo, Dusk, and Juno, here to tell you about themselves and introduce their characters. Here they are. Go ahead, Cypher, kick us off.
Hello, my name is Cypher, and I play Nyx, the Ifrit Rogue. Very nice to be here again, talking about our amazing Blorbos and the adventures that we impose on them. Yes, hello.
I'm Endo. I play Renveri. He is a bright skin divine sorcerer. I'm the healer, and yeah, love to impose situations on these guys all the time.
Howdy. I am Dusk. That is I. I play Brand Gideon, monster hunter, little feral. Love him dearly. Gonna put him through the ringer, but he'll be fine.
Hi, I'm Juno. I'm the clown of Funky Town. I own this joint. I play Canopsia, I guess. I mean, last I checked,
Hold on, you own this tavern? And it's called
mine.
Funky Town?
Businessman.
Yeah.
Funky Town Tavern.
So the tavern. So ignore that sign over there that says Tavern Talk. I don't know. I honestly don't know who put that in there. I think.
You need to hire security.
I think it might be this guy sitting in the middle of the table.
I was not going to point that out. That there's a guy here.
I know. I'm glad your character's like
watching us.
Who the hell's this guy? This
guy that we're facing. We're all staring at.
He won't leave us alone. Why do you keep? Who are you, dude?
How do you know so much about us? Are you scrying on us, man?
I'll kill you. I'll kill you so hard.
I'll kill you.
Oh, he'll do it. He's crazy.
Yeah, I'm fucking ready.
I've got the whole history of all of your adventures right here in my hands. Oh, I know. Well, thank you guys.
Runs away
for that super fun introduction. And welcome to all of our viewers out there. If you're new to Tavern Talk, we're the companion series for Pristine Dreams. And what we basically do is we recap the last session that we played, giving you guys some insights and details into both the player perspective and the GM perspective on how the game went together, how it ran, and what's came to be that may not have been part of the original design and what may have enhanced the game. So kind of a little bit of behind the scenes on how to play D&D, how our D&D game gets put together, and everything in between. So this episode is going to be covering session 5, which is episode 18, 19, 20, and 21 of Pristine Dreams. So where this adventure picks up is when our party is arriving in the town of Arcadia. and you guys had just fought your way kind of through the Black Forest. You'd fought some centaurs. You met up with Prince Menelaus. You saved a random weird small child. And then you guys ended up on the outskirts of Arcadia with Prince Menelaus. So here, we'll throw him up on the screen so everybody can check him out. Prince Menelaus, met him in the Black Forest, which was kind of a frozen wastelandy area. And you guys arrive at his hometown, your destination, the lovely city of Arcadia, which in turn was not snowy, but instead was a very lovely oceanside abode, town that seemed to be like in the middle of spring. And it was about sunset, which was pretty interesting considering that was not the time it was when you were in the Black Forest mere moments ago. But upon arriving at the edge of the city, all of you take the opportunity to look out across it and be taken aback by the beauty and wonder of this ancient looking place. And while you guys were taking a look at it, it turns out that Prince Menelaus collapses near you guys and is apparently suffering from some sort of ailment. So as our party healer, Rinveri, you're getting the first tap tonight. Endo, tell us what was going through your mind and Rinveri's mind when you heard that Prince Menelaus was down.
We didn't do it. Not it. And then we all run. I was thinking like, oh shit, that's bad. Gotta find out what happened to him, and then finding out it's a poison. And then I know I asked like, oh, did it seem like it came from a knife or an arrow? Because immediate thought, oh, the centaurs, they'd have poisons, and getting basically that like, okay, cool, I can deal with that. And then trying to cure wounds. And then when it didn't work, when it didn't work, and then just kind of made it like, made it bubble in the wound and spread.
Yes.
Just kind of spiritually shat for a sec. And I was like, okay, I'm in over my head. we gotta find infirmary fast before that keeps spreading.
It's like, well, that seems bad.
Oh yeah, super bad. Not a fan. And yeah, just a lot of panic. Even though I think Rinveri maintained his composure. He was a traveling healer. He's seen some freaky shit. Mm-hmm. So I think he knows how to keep his game face on.
Well, it's funny, just to pull back the curtain right away. So a lot of what happened here in these 4 episodes are very role play forward. There's no combat throughout those entire 4 episodes, but the story is basically all made up of our role playing, our collaborative storytelling, kind of building this out. And one interesting part that you guys are probably going to be super interested and want to kick my ass over is that this was not part of my original story. But in the last Tavern Talk we did, you guys said that you thought your biggest fear would be that they thought you had captured or hurt Menelaus. And I was like, wow, I love that idea. I want to ramp that up to like the nth degree. We're like,
oh my God.
So what do you guys think of that revelation?
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, well done.
Consider your ass kicked.
Consider your ass grass.
That's a great call.
It was such a good idea when you guys put it out there, but and Wolf.
That's what you know. What that's what being a DM is hearing your players say shit and be like, I'm gonna steal that.
Like that.
And then and then your players be like, wow,
yeah. So like, again,
and they'll never know until you tell them, like now.
The idea is collaborative storytelling, right? But it doesn't mean you all know that you're writing the story.
Very
you just
exactly.
are.
Very, very true.
just happens, you know?
Yeah, so that's a fun little tip for all the DMs out there. It's like sometimes it's good to ask questions, to do these little after action reports like we do here on Tavern Talk to learn how your players feel. And I have had people come and like, we were doing a puzzle one time in a game, and the answer to the puzzle was very simple, and it had to do with a map. And one of my players was like, oh, wait, I see what this is. This map actually correlates to stars. And if we arrange the coins that people threw in the bottom of this fountain to an exact star chart, we'll be able to travel to different locations where that star map is visible in the night sky. And I was like, wow, no, it's like just like you're just supposed to throw a coin in there and you wish to go to the place you go to. And I'm like, yeah, your idea is 1,000 times cooler than what
that's so sick. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, that was a case where
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to talk over you.
No,
I just really want to quickly interject here.
Yeah.
It's very important, I think, to if a person is interacting with your world and literally saying things like, this is a star map and we have to go to these like this is their way of trying to engage and push their way to explore your world further. And I personally think that should be rewarded. Creative thinking and, throwing out ideas like that, I think should be rewarded. Whether it be just like, hey, point of inspiration, or just like, being like, yeah, and or something else of that line. Anyway, I'm sorry, Charles. You were saying.
No, for sure. And that would definitely be like fall under that category of the divine favor that we're using. That me as the DM, as the player representing the gods, could be like, wow, we're going to give him divine favor because he's using his noodle. We like that.
Right.
It incentivizes like interacting with the world.
Yeah. In that particular instance, like there was a whole mechanic built into traveling the world that had to do with this well already. And I was like, wow, I can't really change that, like what I had planned, because there's other stuff set up. But I definitely told that player in the moment, I was like, wow, dude, that was like 1,000 times cooler than like what I was planning. And that goes in my bag of tricks that I'm going to use in a game someday. You wait and see. So yeah, it's very important to always speak to your players and challenge yourself with some of their ideas. And we'll find out as the story continues in parts 22 and beyond, some of the lasting impact of this situation that you all essentially created. You put the seed in my brain, but it's actually going to tell another thread of this story that we're going to see further down the road. So really great collaborative storytelling all around. But this led to, rather than us showing up at the city and you guys just walking up to the city gates and being let in by the arm of the prince, now you guys had to take the unconscious prince, get him to the palace, and not get yourselves in trouble in the meantime. And you all did not disappoint with creating hijinks along the way.
No,
I don't know what to tell you, man.
We're not immune.
We are the
follows
hijinks.
us.
That's our band name.
We
the
are
hijinks.
exactly.
So I think Cypher was the first one to point out, hey, we may need to not keep the prince in plain view of everyone all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a discussion of like, well, Nyx, what should you do to conceal the identity of the prince? And Nyx, if you recall, you had the cloak, Madame Rava's cloak. And I remember asking you, like, how do you enshroud them with this cloak? And do you remember your response, Cypher? It was very, very funny.
I don't think enshroud was even like, that's not in her vocabulary. She was like, plop, there you go. It's there. He's fine. It's okay. No one's gonna.
Don't look at him. He's just horribly mauled. It's fine.
It's fine. His arm isn't dangling outside of it.
Yeah. So
please, just don't Don't worry. It's okay.
Yeah, I just
Please.
absolutely love then rather than put the cloak on, pull it down over his head, you're just like, I just throw the whole thing over his head like a blanket, and you're like, we're good
Like
to
a
go.
blanket. Oh, yeah.
Not
Very
suspicious
Nyx
at
of her to
all.
do that. No, not suspicious at all. And also really funny. And I like it. I like that she did that a lot.
I love that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same.
Nyx gets me unlike any other.
So from there was a little bit of a challenge of getting the prince down the mountainside in an unconscious kind of state, which was a little bit fun between Canopsia and Bran, who decided to kind of tag team, double arm. Let's do this together, right? Because I know Bran was very much like, I'm gonna beef this dude up, and I got him. But it was like, well, we do got to go down this hill and everything. So Canopsia was like, let me help, just so we make sure no one here gets hurt. And there was some discussion of whether or not we could acrobatics him down the hill rather than athletics, which was very funny.
Down the hill. He'll be fine.
Yeah, just like roll him up in a ball. Okay. And then kick him.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's still athletics.
Yeah, just like juggle him back and forth.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
Just like that. Just like that.
Yeah.
So long.
Well, the old heave ho.
Go on. Goal.
What was funny was
Goal.
No, to me as the GM, I was totally misunderstanding that Juno, you were trying to be like, I'm not going to use acrobatics, right? Like, I'm going to use my athletics because I'm good at that. And I thought you were like trying to be like, oh, can I do acrobatics? And I was like,
No.
what, dude?
No.
So it took
That's
me a
not
minute
what
to
I was
figure that out.
asking.
Yeah.
No.
But we got there, and you guys got him to the bottom of the hill, and you met up with a local named Stavos, who was at first trying to be like, hey, what's going on? This situation is sus. You're outsiders. Maybe I can make some money off you guys. What is it that you need? What are you guys doing? And it was interesting that Endo, you were like, hey, let me insight this guy. Like, is he trying to just BS me here? Because I ain't got time for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was such a great call. You know, a lot of people kind of ignore insight altogether. But I think this is the perfect example of when a player should be putting that out there, because there's only so much I can do as an actor. Like, I'm not some Juilliard performer, you know, as conveying this person's intention. Sometimes it is a little bit easier for me to tell you, like, no, he doesn't seem like a jerk, but he does seem like he's just trying to take advantage of the opportunity. Like, oh, here's somebody who needs help. Yeah,
exactly.
So, yeah. So what would you say?
I love insight.
Yeah. What would you say in your mind is a good deciding factor of when to use insight?
Personally, for me, it's when I feel genuinely like very suspicious, and I don't like going through games thinking everyone is out to get me and being scared to do anything. Because I know a problem sometimes in games. It's like players want to always do perception checks and be like, do I notice anything here? Are there traps? And then same coin, doing insight checks, like, can I trust them? I don't know this guy. Stranger danger to everybody. So it's like a combination of like following my gut and trying not to question everybody, but this guy just coming up like, oh yeah, I can help you. I have a business that very conveniently is what you need. come down to my establishment. And then so and also Rinberry traveled a lot, and I think used to being the new kid in town, and you know, people tend to be very opportunistic, which is okay. And just seeing, oh, new weird guy who doesn't fit in. Do you have money? Can I get it from you in some way? And so, yeah, Rinberry trying to like suss out this angle here of like, you grifting? Okay, you're just trying to promote your business. That's fine. I do not have time for that.
Yes, exactly. No, so yeah, that was the perfect opportunity to suss it out then. And I know there's a little bit of back and forth discussion at a lot of different tables I've been at about when is it appropriate for a player to ask for a check versus when should a DM announce a check and be telling you to do a check. So like, just if anyone across the table has any thoughts on that, what would you guys say is a good guideline as a player of when to ask for a check, but when not to ask for a check?
I think as a player, I'm very open with asking for checks, but that's basically like because I think, oh, there's something I want to do in this moment, or there's information here that I want to get, and if not, immediately presented with the role, just kind of ask like, oh, is it cool if I insight this or perception or whatever? Because as the DM, it's hard to manage like when to do these checks, because sometimes you're just kind of explaining the story and you're moving it along, and it's like if no one has questions, we'll continue. You're gonna keep playing my game. You're gonna keep experiencing my story.
Right. And what about the others? Anyone else have a different thought on that, or are we all kind of on consensus there?
I think it can depend for people. I know that sometimes in the beginning I wasn't comfortable asking for checks. I kind of just waited to see like what was thrown at me first by, describing what it is that I'm like, I do this, and then I see what comes of that. Obviously, I think it can depend, but if you are looking for a specific angle to come at, just ask. If you don't know how exactly to word your question, and it's just like, there is something I want to do, would you allow me to perform this check? But I think there is a I don't know if there's like I don't know, like a cooldown. I don't know. But
yeah, interesting. Yeah, to just not be doing it every 2 seconds.
Because it's just like, you don't want to be. What'd you say, Dusk?
Like do it with like reason, with like intent, not just like going all willy-nilly, like machine gun style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are both good points. One, not doing it too frequently where you're constantly interrupting narrative. That's definitely not the time to do that, right? But definitely if there's a break in the dialogue, or if you kind of get the attention for a second and want to ask something real quick, I think that's totally fine, but if you're constantly interrupting like a long like narrative section, that can be difficult for the GM. Like they may just want to be trying to get through something, but also to Dust's point, it should be with some sort of intent, right? Where I think a lot of the times if people have a vague suspicion, they want to be like, hey, do I perceive anything that might be out of the ordinary? And it's like, that's a little much, man. Like maybe ask me a specific something if you're doing something specific. And it's okay to be broad, but expect to sometimes be shut down too. And I think that's okay. I think as a player, you should be able to take that for someone to say, no, you can't have a check for that right now. We're doing something else, But by the same token, I think there are sometimes I've heard stories of the GMs who they do not like you asking for checks. They don't want you asking them for checks. I think that's preposterous,
Yeah, I've never played with a GM like that.
I've never heard of a GM who is like that. It's just like, for me, it's just like I mentioned before, when you're kind of starting out, or you're more of a quiet player at a table, sometimes you might just not feel comfortable being like, can I I was there for a while. It was hard to be like, I want to do this, but I don't know. I don't want to tell the DM what to do. I don't want the DM to be mad at me.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm also a sensitive little boy. So this one goes to all my other sensitive little fellas out there. Shout out to you, because I understand you.
In like the same vein of like, there are GMs there who are just like, don't ask to make a roll. I will tell you when to roll. I've never played with a GM like that, but I know it is a faux pas. Like, don't be like, I'm gonna do this roll, you know. Right. Like, GM says something, it's like, well, I'm gonna roll insight now, and then you just do it. Like, if you want to make a roll, ask. Yeah, but don't roll without GM permission.
That's a very good piece of etiquette to kind of lay out for people, is that like, you should ask to roll, don't roll and then tell the DM what you're doing. That exactly. No DM really likes that, you know? And
I super hate that.
Yeah. So ask first and all that. Cypher, I know you're more on the side too of one to maybe not interject too much. So I know you're a little bit of the kind of more person who is going to absorb, think, and then react rather than trying to jump the gun. So how do you feel about asking for checks in general?
You're right. I don't do it often. But I think that it's a fantastic way to enhance play. I think that you should, ask if maybe not necessarily what check, but like just be like, is this something that my character can discern in some way, or is this something that my character would notice? Is there, like, I think in the past I've if I've asked for a check, I'll ask, what check can I do to A, B, or C with my character. So
I think that goes a lot hand in hand with what Juno's saying in terms of like if you're a new player and you're unfamiliar with the rules, it may make you apprehensive to ask about a check to discover more information or to assess a situation better. And I think that a DM should let their party know, especially the new players, that I encourage you to ask me to discern information and I will tell you what check to make. That's a great compromise. I'm the person that knows the rules better. Tell me what you're looking for or what you know. Again, in that term of specificity, like if you want to say, do I notice anything out of the ordinary on the bookshelf? Right. Or do I notice anything out of the ordinary that looks out of place? Like, give me some sort of guideline for what you're looking for, and I will tell you a check that fits into that so that you can make that roll. So yes, I agree with all four of you guys, and you all have different points to make on it, which is so cool. But asking for a check in general, I think is very good. And as a DM, to any DM or GM out there who is not receptive to people asking for checks,
why?
For one, dude, stop being a jerk. That's a jerk thing to do.
Why?
It's a team game. We're on the same team. The players are not against you.
The real thing I think that they're not understanding is that oftentimes those checks are asked due to clarity, right? If the players had all the information that you had in your head, they wouldn't be asking a question. They wouldn't need to do a check. But especially in terms of exploration or mystery, right? You may be detailing a room or laying out the clues and your party doesn't understand them, or they didn't catch them, or they just inherently don't understand, because human beings all have a different set of references in their head that go along with their language. So you as the GM being able to say, oh yeah, roll this thing and I will give you more clarity on something so that you and your character will understand it better. That is a good thing that you want your players to understand what's going on. You know, if they don't, they will completely check out. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So definitely be in the wheelhouse of accepting that ask for checks, and again, modify a check. Same thing with the acrobatics athletics thing. Sometimes you may look at a situation and be like, I don't see how acrobatics can get you across that rope. And if your player's like, well, what if I did it by doing like a little cartwheely thing across it? And then you're like, oh, I guess that would work, but that'd be like a little bit harder check. Then now you've got two different checks you could possibly do. Some people can do athletics, some people can do acrobatics. So definitely, I think, be receptive to people doing that. And as the GM of this game and, GM of many other games, I do want to just add my 2 cents on the only time that I feel like it's sort of a little bit annoying. And those are bandwagon checks, which everybody does, and it's fine. And I get it. But I feel like they only work in certain circumstances. This moment that we're talking about, the insight check on Stavros, we totally had a bandwagon a good check. Everyone was like, can I do that too? Can I do that too? I also want to do that as well. And it's like, okay, yes, everyone can do that because we're all having the same interaction at the same time. Totally fair to do that. Right. Mm-hmm. But the one time it kind of sucks is when there's someone in completely another room or another part of a dungeon and something's happening. And then that person in the other room is like, oh, wait, can I do that check as well to see if I put the pieces together the same way that they did, even though they're looking at something different than me in another room in another place? And it's
that, my friend, is called metagaming.
Yeah.
I was about to say.
Yeah. And again, it may be within reason that your character can just manifest that knowledge, but it seems awfully convenient that you want to do it at the exact same time someone else is rolling a check for it. So that's the only time when I get a little bit like, man, don't do that about asking for a check. But I still don't hate it. I usually won't shut it down. I'll usually just make their DC super hard and still give them the opportunity to roll the dice, because that's what we're all here for. We want to roll the dice and be part of the story. So give them the opportunity. Yeah. What if they roll a natural 20? Yeah, dude, your brain just boom, your cosmic fifth eye opened
Sherlock.
up. Yeah. So
that's fun. That's fun to still give them the opportunity, but just make the DC a lot higher. Because I'm just thinking you just can't. And I'll tell you why you can't do that.
And sometimes that's 100% fair. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I've had the people that are like, the rogue tries to pick this lock and they rolled a 18. You failed. And someone else is like, can I try to pick this lock? And it's like, the door is barred from the other side. No, you can't move on. Let's just go.
Yeah.
So, there's a very, very, very thin line to me of okay, it's being excessive. But it takes a lot to get there. And there are so many other avenues as a DM to redirect your players back to the story that you want them to be looking at, rather than the threads that they're pulling on that don't have anything to do with anything. Because again, if your players are pulling on threads that aren't part of the story, they don't have all the information yet that you want them to have. You got to get them to the right thread. So yes, don't be offended by people asking for checks. Embrace them, go with them, and have fun with it and tell the story. So thank you guys for that little excerpt, a little bit of fun knowledge and insight for people out there.
Fun little discussion.
But this, of course, leads us to our only almost confrontation of this session, where you guys approach the palace itself. Stavros brings you up to the top and you meet the captain of the Arcadian Guards up there. And he's looking kind of beefy at the top of the stairs. And it takes us
fuzzy men.
There are a lot of beefy, fuzzy men.
Not complaining.
But it takes a minute or two of conversation for you guys to finally reveal, okay, listen, we have the prince with us. We have brought him here. And I remember there's a totally biffed check right here that did not go well, where I believe it's Canopsia who's revealing the prince, and the coat kind of catches on his head in a way where his head sticks up for a second and then just like flops over in a kind of dead like state that freaks out these guards big time.
Now, I don't remember what I did there, but I feel like I did something.
I want to say panicked, but
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm doing that every second of every day, and it gets us. It's amped by like 10 when we're playing a game.
I know Endo was quick to jump in with the, hey, he's not dead. He's fine. He's just wounded. He's just passed out. And
we're not strolling up here like, yeah, we killed the prince and you're next.
Exactly, right? You guys made a visual wall of like, we're aiding this person. Like everything about what you're doing seems helpful rather than confrontational. But again, a bit jarring to these people, especially considering not only that you're outsiders, but you're outsiders where at least half of you are visibly on the spectrum of more monster than perhaps normal person.
Yeah,
so
like monstrously hot. Wink.
You know it, baby.
I wouldn't have said half the party if that's what I meant. But no, definitely they are two, like, kind of, what's the best way to say it? Are talkers of the group. You know, I don't know. Do you consider Canopsia very charismatic? Juno, I think so.
You think so?
I think so.
I mean, okay. Because
our boys got Riz.
Hold on, don't.
Canopsia certainly has he has a presence.
Yeah,
that's where his Riz is.
No, yeah, that's. I was gonna say, Canopsia is charismatic in the way that what is like.
I mean, I'll give you my impression. I feel like Canopsia is very charming in the sense that like they come up to you and they're just like, hello. And you're like, damn, hello. I hope they don't say nothing too stupid because like they got me on the hook already. You know?
Yeah, Canopsia.
I hope you're not dumb.
Yeah, no, he has a very specific way of talking.
But I hearken back to the very first adventure we had where you and Renveri were addressing Pale and Moonlight, you know, and able to both speak on terms of like, hey, we are a couple of, you know, holy people and we've come to bless your trip. Like you weren't afraid to kind of speak out to the public, and not to say that Bran and Nyx are afraid, but just less apt.
No, they're reserved.
Yeah,
no,
I think
they're reserved.
They like their blades to do most of the talking, right?
Oh yeah,
they're not really into the whole people thing.
Yeah,
you know, they're not. They don't, and that's fine. They don't have to be. But Canopsia is charming in a way where it's like I apologize if you hear thunder in the background. It's storming right now.
You're okay.
Stop.
Yeah. But
you can't control the weather.
Did you say stop?
Yeah. Not to you.
Okay.
To the storm.
Okay.
I can control the weather.
I had no idea.
No power,
so cool.
Yeah. So that should quiet down in like a few minutes. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate you.
System style.
It's like this is gonna be so specific, but Canopsia is charming in that way where it's like you are deathly allergic to cats and there's a stray cat and they're so cute and friendly, but you can't. You mustn't.
Wow.
You can't.
That is I don't know if you know how relatable that is. I am actually allergic to cats. So like,
really?
yes. But I love cats. So I 100% get that analogy where it's like, I'm going to look at you and I'm going to be like, you're going to hurt me, but I have to pet you anyways.
I'm intrigued by you, boy. Tell me more.
I still need to get close to you.
Yeah, Kanopsy has a 15 in charisma. But the thing is, his charisma is, he has a +4 to intimidation.
Okay.
He's not sweet talking you.
Right.
He's arching his back and he is hissing at you angrily because you have stepped foot in his space and now he's very upset. Look what you did.
Well,
you made him look what you did.
Whether you went the route of intimidation or straight up diplomacy, between the two of you, you did manage to diffuse the situation quite well, where I really thought there was a very good chance you guys were all ending up in prison at the beginning of this session.
Oh my God. I
was shitting my pants the entire time.
I was worried at all.
No,
genuinely.
I'm glad.
We
had that in the bag.
Yeah, like his policies, honesty is the best policy. Did not work awesome for Pale and Moonlight, but I feel like in his day-to-day life, it has served him well to be very open, you know?
Right.
And just like, I'm obviously not a threat.
Smile.
Yes, we do have your prince. He's unconscious, but we have come up to you. We were escorted by a citizen of the town. Like, clearly we are not here to hurt anybody. Wait, why do you have swords out?
Why are you sapping me of my life force?
And it's so funny that
don't beat me, please.
You mentioned Stavos again, E, because you did, even in session, you were even like, hey, what's Stavos doing? How's he reacting to all this? Because he brought us up here. And I'm like, dude, that guy's like slowly backing away. Like, oh, I don't even fucking know these people. I'm going to go back.
I don't want to be executed for treason, please.
Yeah. I was just concerned in that moment, like they were roping Stavos into our deal.
Yeah, no.
And you said he's backing away and I'm like, okay, good. Yeah, he did his part.
Yes.
Bye.
It was definitely...
He got us here. That was his job.
Yeah. It was definitely smart in terms of he could have been a lifeline, though. And I do see that, where if he was there and more engaged with, no, I just brought these people. They're outsiders. They're looking for an infirmary for him. Like, he could have given you a lifeline, you know?
I totally understand him being like, wow, not my circus, not my clowns. I'm out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Where it's like, well, maybe I don't want to get roped up into whatever these guys are doing. I don't really know them, you know? But it could have swung either way. And ultimately it worked out where you guys were able to kind of convince them that everything was fine, but not before one of the more interesting bits of the night kind of took place that kind of becomes a running theme over the next few. Very subtle, though. It's we don't hit on it a lot because it's an interesting dynamic. And I know it's something that you guys kind of put in my wheelhouse of like, hey, don't do this in game. So I need to apologize for one and just be like, hey, I'm sorry if this crossed any lines for anyone, but I felt like it was appropriate and not like in the realm of too weird. But this discussion gives me the opportunity to find out whether or not we should explore it more or just be like, no, we don't like that. Just let it ride. And of course, I'm speaking about these people kind of looking at Nyx and not understanding that they're a Genasi, that they don't know what that creature is, but they do know that you have resemblance towards satyrs or centaurs, and they don't like you. They see you as an outsider, as an enemy, and they like just refer to you as a demon because you have characteristics that look like what they would think of as a demon. So to me, I wasn't really associating that with some of what you guys had discussed with me before session started, which again, I just want to reiterate to other DMs out there. It's always important, you know, if you have the opportunity to screen a new player, find out things that they they don't want to be part of their game, you know? And I do know there was some discussion of like not outwardly being offensive to other in-game races or species or things like that. This kind of in my head fell under more of kind of a religious thing rather than a speciesist or racist type thing. So I don't know. You guys tell me, was this okay, or was this still something that was close enough to that line that you'd rather not deal with? And I think Cypher, I'd love your opinion on it first and foremost.
I was going to say, like, I have an answer to this, but if anybody wants to go first, and I'm like looking at Cypher.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at all. It kind of made sense to me immediately because she's an outsider. This is about the way that they can, perceive her, like immediately without knowing much more about her. Nyx, I don't think takes to it well, which is understandable. And to her, it was racism. But I think that, like, in a way, in my head, I was like, she probably has dealt with this before. I personally found it suitable for the situation. And I didn't have anything else, to say or feel about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
That it felt appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely, I tried to impose more of this idea of like, they don't understand what you are as a creature rather than I don't like you because you're a creature. Like that wasn't really the intent. And I just wasn't sure if that was coming across well or not. So
it didn't feel like, fantasy racism and like, oh, you fucking elf, you damn knife ear, it's just like, I've never seen anyone like you before.
Yeah. And more of that fear-based kind of like, what the fuck is that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. You look like I'm not sure where you came from. You're an outsider, and already like they're very trepidatious towards outsiders.
Yeah.
And so that lends towards it's just like, I don't know anything about you, period. So kind of worried about that. And it didn't feel like a racist attack.
Okay,
because Fantasyland.
The idea too was to show that maybe people like the captain of the guard who shut that shit down and was like, dude, shut up.
Yes.
Like, come inside.
Yeah.
Or like King Lycaon who never brings it up, but then Linus who does. Right.
Yes.
I was trying to kind of paint this picture of like the elders here have experience with other species throughout the realm that maybe younger folk don't have. Because their city is sort of closed off now by this black forest that has isolated them. So that was sort of the idea. But again, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't offending anyone or going too close to any lines for anyone. So either way, it's not going to be a very prominent thing. But given that it was kind of like, oh, this needs to be addressed. It was kind of like it first happens right here. And then it was one of those things where in my head, it didn't get anywhere close to that line. But the minute you say it and act out that part, you're like, oh, this is very close to that line, dude. Like, I don't like where this is going. So I tried to make it a little more clear as the session went on.
Feedback.
Yeah, and
exactly.
I want to say, like, on behalf of Nyx, she is very, like, she loves Canopsia for standing up for her and, like, correcting people, because I think that it does make Nyx uncomfortable, because she doesn't look at herself like that. She knows what she is to a degree. She just appeared in the world as that, and she doesn't think that. She definitely doesn't see herself as a demon because she knows she's not.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
yeah,
that was one important like piece I tried to add in with Linus, like not to jump ahead too much, but you know, when you're talking with him later and he calls you a demon and Canopsy does like, why the fuck do you call him that? Like, what's the matter with you? And he's like, I thought that's what you were. I'm not trying to offend you. I thought that's what you were, you know? So.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
I think it worked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, just role playing it out. I was like, I don't like this. So we're probably not going to see a lot of that in the future, if any, probably none. But just to get a general reference and to help not only ourselves have a better gaming experience, but audience members who may blunder into that same sort of situation, kind of find how to have a healthy dialogue about it. So thank you guys for that feedback on that. Dusk, Juno, anything you want to add to that or?
It's always good to like keep players lines and veils in mind, just like what people are uncomfortable with. It's always, as you're doing, very good to be like, hey, is this good? Is this cool? Thoughts, opinions.
For sure. Yes, definitely keep an eye on that for what you're doing. But again, this isn't the first time that like something inadvertently happens in game that you realize might be close to that line or completely cross it. And it's, I still have a duty as a DM to come back and, like I said, apologize for kind of even getting close to that line because that wasn't in my head when I planned it out. And again, it didn't occur to me. I didn't realize what was happening till it was already in play. But again, that's a good lesson for other people. I appreciate your guys' feedback. I know that everyone role played with it very well, and I appreciate that. So thank you guys. But this did lead us to find that not only was this captain of the guard a little bit more of a stern head on his shoulders, but he brings us inside to speak up with King Lycaon himself, who again is an imposing kind of badass figure. And if you thought the Arcadian guard was a big, beefy, hairy man, whew, you ain't seen nothing yet.
That's a man right there.
Now, you guys got kind of a cool introduction to King Lycaon as he was amid a group of, let's say, politicians for the city and was kind of obscured in the surrounding of people and in his duties and activities as a king. And there was kind of an ominous approach of this character. What were you guys thinking in terms of King Lycaon and who he would be versus who you actually saw in this opening moments? Because I remember there was a lot of like, oh, thank God he's friendly when you saw the imagery associated with him.
I remember seeing him like, oh, he looks so nice. Thank fucking God. I mean, I think it's a combination of Rinberry's experiences and also mine as a player dealing with royalty or kings in games. In both of our experiences, they're assholes. They're I don't know. Maybe I just play with people who just think authority means they're fucking dickhead.
Yeah, well, let's not say that that's completely too far from the truth, but you do get more of like a 50-50 split, you know? Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's just like usually off the bat, like encountering like kings or just people in high authority, just from the get-go, just very used to being looked down on from them. Or, like you've come into my city. Who the fuck are you? He's like, calm down. Hi.
They ask the king like, oh, what was your impression of the party? when they first spoke to you, and you're like, well, my first thought was the audacity of them to speak to me as a king. You're just like, come
exactly.
on.
Yeah, a lot of
there's a lot of ways to play royalty, but a lot of people like default to that, like, you are beneath me.
Mm-hmm. Which, like, on one hand I get, but on the other hand it's just kind of like all of them, most of them.
Yeah.
But
citizens do rise up and slay kings that act too much like a prick, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there is that history to keep in mind as well. But yes, there is a moment, I think that hopefully came across to you guys, of a little bit of tension of whether or not this guy was going to be a decent dude.
Mm-hmm.
But once we got past that, it seemed like he showed a quizzical concern for his son. How did you guys think that sort of played out? Because I know there was some confusion at first to his reaction. I think this is an instance where I did ask you guys to roll a perception insight, something like this, to determine that he seemed almost unhappy with the situation that his son had returned, albeit overall glad he was back. So was there any theories or thoughts going through your head in that moment?
This is one of those moments where, as a role player, like I regret the thing that I said, or no, I regret the thing that I didn't say for Nyx, which had to do with like her immediate suspicion about, like, she had an assumption because of his reaction, which was, to me, like, not even like, to me, it was blasé, like the way that he took in the information we gave him. It was kind of like, it kind of like bounced off of his big booba and, fell right onto the floor, because he didn't, he wasn't overjoyed or relieved in any way. And I remember, like, I said something, I think I said he's alive or something like that for Nyx. But in the back of my head, what I didn't say was, if that's how you intended him to be. Because Nyx automatically read off of him that maybe, maybe it was intentional. Like, he was sent out there by his family. Not necessarily, like, she didn't really suss out like the whole situation of why he was out there, but she definitely like felt like King Lycaon had something to do with why he was out there in the condition that he was.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so yeah, you were a little bit ahead of the story in that sense then, because we would come to find out later on that he's being sent out as kind of a trial to kind of test his mettle sort of thing. So this kind of leading to why his reaction is mixed, that he's like, fuck, did he like complete this trial? Are we good? Did he come back a failure again? Like, he still has a lot of uncertainty. But in a weird way, which, again, you guys are kind of having to run through the game of, what are these people's customs? What is it that they're trying to tell us? And he is going by a very strict code of what they call Xenia, where he is kind of forbade from asking you too many questions until he welcomes you and makes sure that you have eaten and had something to drink and had a moment to rest. So with that in mind, he can't really ask too much about what happened. But you guys can read into his face a little bit of like, okay, he definitely has mixed feelings about what's going on right now. But I do specifically loved the fact that there was some discussion between between Endo and Juno outside of game as to whether or not it would be appropriate to hit on the king immediately.
I remember, guys, don't hit on the king. Don't hit on the king.
Again, I think one of the few times Juno has actually probably one of the many times Juno has been like, hey, don't just feel free to cut that out. We can clip that and cut that out. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. We'll get on that, buddy. No problem. So,
no,
yeah.
you made it very clear you were not cutting it out. Don't try to save face here.
So feel free to go back and find that clip.
We know that's true.
But for the time being, they do invite you guys to check out the bathhouse, get a bath, get cleaned up for a feast in which they'll break bread, make sure you have something to drink, and then have some discussion about what happened. So this leads us into the second part of our session here, where you guys go to the bathhouse. Now, there's a very interesting bit right here in the beginning where you guys are walking through the kind of labyrinthian style of this massive palace. And there's some discussion about the signals and iconography, like leading the way, like which was very interesting to me, whether or not there were signifiers that we would recognize as modern day folks to help guide us through a building or not. And there was, but they were just in a foreign language and of foreign design to the extent that you guys did not recognize them. But those were very interesting questions and ways of looking at things. So again, always intriguing to get feedback from the players. So very cool stuff.
Yeah, I think it's important to know where the exits are. And and it's just kind of like, okay, the king has been very welcoming to us. Been kind.
Always have an escape plan.
Basically, yeah.
He's been very nice, but pretty sus. You know?
Exactly. He's been sus. And it's just kind of like, are we being led to like a place to bathe and like relax, or like secretly like are they just trying to lull us into a sense of security and then like jail them? They brought back the prince all poisoned and fucked up. Clearly they did something. And then separate from that, it's just good to be aware of your surroundings and like, you know, know where to run if shit goes down.
Well, very smart. Yeah, very good thinking on the whole party's part. Yeah. And good looking out, covering your bases, because yeah, definitely any one of those things could have happened. But in my mind, again, as a DM, Endo, you brought up, I'm going to call you Renberry. Endo, you brought up a great point earlier that a DM often has a plot point they want to get to, you know, and they're not going to meander around aimlessly. They're going to try to get you to the plot point so they can get to the next plot point. So they can get to the next plot point. Like that's kind of our goal. It's our duty. That's us telling the overarching narrative. But like we discussed our last Tavern Talk, it's so great to give your players some reins, some freedom, right? Some room to really grow and explore an area and what's going on. And this is 100% that exact scenario where, to me, go get like, okay, to me, you have to have a meal before they're going to ask you any questions, right? They have to make sure that you're cared for, that you take a bath or whatever because you're weary and look like you're going to freaking die and stink. So they want you to take a bath, come eat, then they want to ask you questions. As a DM, I don't really care what happens in between that. You going to go to the bathroom and shower up and then come back and eat. We're going to have a discussion at mealtime. That is what I prep. That is what I plan.
Yeah.
There is a good chunk of players, you know, I would wager in my experience, 90% of players would say, okay, we go take a bath, then we come back to eat. And that's it. You don't have any more experience there. But when you really get that last 10%, some real role players who want to experience the world and spend time in their characters, which is why I love playing this game with you guys and why I wanted to share your players' play style out with the world, because it is unique. It is a very small percentage. It's the way that I love playing. And you guys essentially created this entire section of the game. Like it was
collaborative world building.
Yeah, this is
world building.
Yeah, completely role playing for section of the game. Awesome. And it was basically me trying to come up with elements on the fly to have and be part of this world, based on, yes, a lot of the mythos I've created of my head of this city, like what would seem appropriate, what wouldn't. But was this encounter planned? Not at all. I didn't even have a single image worked up for it. All of the images that our viewers see in the finished video are all things I added in post later. Because this scene was literally not supposed to happen. And by far, it's probably one of my favorite things in that entire 4-hour span. So absolutely incredible role play all the way around. And I thought this was super fun. So let's dive into how this scene got put together. So of course, I described to you guys, this is a bathhouse. It's a large bathhouse with several pools and lots of people just disrobing right there and getting into these baths. Now, I thought in my head, boy, it would be cute to describe these as like steamy baths, because like when water gets super duper cold, it also puts off steam that looks like heat sometimes. Now, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a physicist. I don't know what makes that combination. So I'm like, okay, this scenario, whatever. But I figured it was enough to be just a fun bit, that you guys were out in the snow. You're desperate for a hot bath. But these would actually be ice cold because, again, there's no fire in this realm, right?
Right, yeah.
So, of course, you guys completely skip over that part, that thought. I love it. And I do manage to bait at least poor Bran into diving headfirst into the water. But
fully submerged, hits the bottom like a rock.
Yeah, and like I did remember that like
Betrayed.
They don't have they didn't have traditional fire here, but I was thinking about that alchemical fire that we found before, and so like I didn't think at all to question that they have cold baths and just like we see steam, cool. They must be using alchemical fire. This must be their means of heating things.
Yeah. So again, between the centaur fight, finding the child, you guys had wanted to leave the centaur area as quick as possible. No one really examined the lantern to determine that like they're basically like a glow stick. They're not generating heat of any kind. They're just purely a light source. So it had occurred to me that you guys did not have that piece of information,
Yeah.
And it was like, ooh, can I get you guys to kind of fall for this and like dive in here?
I assumed it was endothermic rather than ectothermic.
Exactly. So Bran, you definitely, Dusk was like, I want to dive in here. And I was like, what's everyone else doing? Because I'm like, can I get anyone else to dive in together, like all at once? That'd be so good. And then Cypher mentioned, I want to just put my feet in the pool. So this was okay. Now I have to kind of do these two things together. And I appreciate Juno and Endo. We're very much backing Dusk up in the sense of like, once Cypher found out the water was cold, it was too late for Bran. He had already jumped, and Dusk was like, I jumped.
You're already committed. Yeah.
So yeah,
I've already committed.
Into the water we go.
Don't be afraid to commit to the bit.
So a quick little illustration. One of the ones I worked up for this to kind of give you the idea of this like open air side pool that looks over the water, these different pools.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah. And like at the time when we were playing, it didn't occur to me that it would have been open air, but like seeing that's open air, like it makes it worse. This cold water, and also the breeze, the ocean breeze.
Because presumably it's temperate, but being that everything's made of marble, that water would be stone cold.
So cold,
freezing.
Yeah, and it's very windy by the coast. So I'm now only thinking about being in that cold water and having also the breeze make you even colder. Just
and the altitude. You're talking you're way up on the side of this mountain top too.
Oh my god.
So yeah, but I will say
so cold.
Nyx putting her feet in the water, and I'm like, what's your reaction? Like, do you give Bran a heads up? And Cypher's reaction was like, yeah, Nyx just shouts, "Fuck off!" and pulls her feet out of the water.
Such a good reaction.
Truly.
So, Cypher, what were your thoughts? And again, not to put too fine a point on it, but you're the only female character of the group. Did you feel like Nyx had any more trepidation about disrobing in front of a large group of people? Or did you find this more of like, this is kind of a medieval timesy fantasy epic anyways, where people probably just do this all the time?
For me, well, for Nyx. Okay, so for Nyx, yes, I felt like there was an issue of her modesty.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like she was uncomfortable disrobing in front of other people. Maybe because of her being the only female in the group, but probably more like just these are strangers.
Yeah, like a general kind of modesty.
Definitely a general type of modesty. So just her feet, she's excited about the wine, she's excited about the nibbles, the little nosh that they were giving them, and she wants to warm up from her feet and feel warmth once again, and her reaction, is I knew like she was going to like shoot her knees straight up and immediately exclaim, basically curse, like Bran, like in his situation, it would totally be like within the realm of possibility of just cursing. Like,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
it's just kind of like touching something hot and being like, fuck. So, that's where she was. That's where her head was. Like I'm not going to get naked. I'm just going to stick my feet in. It's going to be great. I'm going to nibble on these fruits and drink my wine and fuck. What the fuck? Like.
Well, I definitely like how you made the distinction of like, this is how Nyx feels, so that we can all imagine in our heads that Cypher in real life would just be like, rip my clothes off, happy to dive right in.
There's some truth to that.
Well, this was definitely like local custom. No one had any qualms with it, but it didn't come up in game at all. But it was never going to be an issue of if you guys chose not to do that. If you were like, hey, I'm going to walk into this water fully clothed and take a bath, nobody would have given you guys any static over it. Never be the DM that puts your party in an uncomfortable position like that. That would be weird, but expressing that this is a local custom, you're welcome to do it. I think that everyone can agree that was fair. And
yeah,
most participants were like, hey, while in Rome, this is close enough. Let's dive on in.
That was Renveria's attitude towards it. Like he wasn't going to just, rip off his clothes and jump in. He also was interested in preserving a bit of modesty, like not opposed to communal bath space, shared baths. I feel like not weird among like different regions, so totally fine with that. I think the fact that it was a co-ed open bath probably made him think like, all right, that's new, okay. Sure. But like, all right, yeah, when in Rome, yeah, but I'm gonna cover my bits, let me get a towel and then go in.
Well, I'm glad everyone had a little bit of fun there. And again, there's always that idea of like knowing your players ahead of time for one, and then kind of reading the situation. And I have to say, Juno made a comment of like, yeah, at the very beginning of this, everyone was going down the long corridor of arriving there, and we had this discussion about signifiers and iconography and whether or not this was done for security, which took a minute or two to have that discussion before you arrived at the bathhouse. And Juno makes this comment, hey, I know we've been in here for a few minutes, So I wanna roll for butts. I want to see who's got a good butt I can check out in here.
The roll for ass.
What's the general butt vibe here? Everybody taught.
I asked you a question, Chavez, and I got my answer.
So, but I love the fact that like we were in that room for like less than 2 minutes when you asked that. So it was like, that was your immediate thought going in there.
Yeah, I know what the people want.
The big questions.
Okay?
And again, for me as a DM being like, how far do I push the open naked bath time when it's like, can I check for butts? Who's got the hottest behind us in here? I'm just like, all right, I guess we can go kind of full gorilla with this. And it's not going to be a problem.
You did have a question on the questionnaire.
I just
It's part of his charm.
Yes, absolutely.
I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Who has the hottest butts in here? And does everybody know it's us? We have the hottest butts.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt, man. But yes, if you can, roll for ass. That's the best kind of roll out there, man. Try to suss it out.
Can we like title this that?
This Tavern Talk
Tavern
is
Talk. Roll for
Welcome
ass.
to Tavern Talk.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how YouTube will feel about it, but I'll see what I can do.
just replace like not
Roll
ampersands, at sign.
Yeah.
5
$2 signs.
Yeah, $2.
$2
I like that. Yes.
So this like I said, it's just a riot. We're just having a good time. And again, reading the room and feeling this out with all the players. There's even a moment at one point where, Juno, I know you were talking about like you were like checking out Bran, and I was like, dude, you like sneaking a peek? Like, what are you doing over here, man?
Yeah.
And it was so funny. Yeah, because you were clearly trying to ascertain something else. Like, are they okay? But it was very funny. Yeah, we had a great time with it. But Bran finally diving into the water, you end up rolling a natural 1 on your like con save. And I'm like, dude, yes, all of your cold little muscles just lock up and you sink like a stone to the bottom, prompting Canopsia to dive in, get a great con save, and manage to get Bran head up out of the water so you're not drowning.
That's my boy. If no one got me, I know Canopsia got me.
I got you. I have you now, Bran. Worry not.
Thank you.
And of course, there's a nice moment of Rinvery kind of at the side of the pool with Nyx, kind of chatting with the others like, hey, oh my gosh, like this is really like freezing cold water. What's going on? Oh man, we're going to have to try to get in here. This place is weird. I guess we should try to grit and bear it. And there's some apprehension. Go ahead.
Didn't Rinvery want to ask, like, where are your hot baths?
That's
wait for the attendants over. Yeah.
Yes. And they're just like, a what? Like they have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
What?
I can just
single
picture.
tear.
Yeah.
And we can definitely we can definitely count this as like a moment for Nyx. Like that is just it. There's a build up here. There's a build up for a moment later that Nyx has.
Yeah.
And it started with this.
Yes. This is the fuse being lit. I can just picture like Rinvery hearing, oh, what's that? A hot bath? And just like the uncomfortable smile planted on his face. He doesn't want to be rude and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You bathe like this?
The sane thing?
Yeah.
Why do you guys all take baths like serial killers here? What's going on?
Seriously. Ice cold serial killer bath. Yeah, a really, really horrifying bit of news to get that they don't know what a hot bath is.
But just as you're getting the news that there will be no way for you to warm up, you, I'm sure, take solace in knowing, well, at least I'm not, I didn't dive in head first. I'm not soaking wet right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just as you hear
Camera
that little
pans to sopping. Graham.
Yes, and Canopsia, both sopping wet now, shivering, holding each other in the pool for warmth. And you guys hear that little pitter patter of little feetsies running, and someone cannonballs in your freaking pool.
Motherfucker.
Splashing up Nyx,
Push.
giving Rinberry wet lap yet again, which was such a great callback you threw in there.
Again, wet lap and wet everything.
So this was your guys' introduction to Linus, right? Prince Linus. What did you guys think of Prince Linus?
I'm frowning and
Little
shaking my
brat.
head. Oh, motherfucker. I mean, what a cute, precocious young man that none of us want to push off the side of that pool.
So I hate to say, I think Linus falls in line with what you were saying earlier of that depiction of royalty, right? Being,
Yes.
yeah, just arrogant, thinking they're better than everybody else. That whole 9 yards, looking down on other people. Never
Canopsia
done.
wanted to fucking smack the taste out of his mouth. There was nothing
His distaste for this
familiar
kid.
to him. Oh my god. Yeah, no, Cypher, you were saying. go
Love
ahead.
to see it.
Oh no, I was just saying his distaste for Linus was like the highlight of the session for me. Like Juno and Kay were just so done.
I was worried that I was going a little too hard on it. I was like, is this funny?
No, it was great.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Am
No
I
nonsense
the
man
problem?
meets sunny
Am I-
day.
No problem at all. I love.
I don't want to walk the line of like asshole and no nonsense. No,
Yeah, it was just Kay's very no nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very no nonsense.
And also no
I
rudeness.
don't want. Yeah, no rudeness. He does not tolerate rudeness. He's not about it at all.
But there's definitely a sense of like Linus is nonsense. Like he is messing around, but not in a playful, fun way. Like he's trying to get your goat, So when you guys had first jumped into the water, I remember describing to you guys that the other patrons are kind of chuckling at you guys, and the attendants are like, "Sorry, we didn't say anything because like we like, why would we say something to you? You're just gonna, this is normal,
Exactly. They didn't think to warn, hey, we take icy cold baths because we're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's normal for them. Yeah.
But she does say we can't help but not say anything to outsiders.
Right.
Yeah.
So they clearly have seen other people react this way.
Yeah.
And it's funny,
Yeah.
But Linus coming in, seeing this, he deliberately cannonballs in there to splash the other people and all this sort of stuff. Like he's messing around. And I feel like I did a great job here of kind of like giving you guys the interpretation of this character, that he is messing with you guys in a way just to be annoying, just to agitate you guys because you can't do anything to him,
Yes. Yeah.
So
he's peak entitled princeling.
Yes, he
Brian
could talk
was
to you
ready
however
to
he
dunk
wants.
that bitch.
You tried. I remember.
Tried even, yeah.
Yes. I think two of my favorite moments. One was when Dusk, you're very quiet for a minute or two. And I remember being like, Dusk, what are you doing? And your response was like, Hunter's Mark the Child. And I was like, dude, nice. So again, it's like when you're playing the villain, if your players hate you, you're doing it right.
Yes.
If that's the intention, then you're nailing it. So I felt like, oh man, while not necessarily like a villain, like Linus is an antagonist here. And the fact that I knew that during the dinner later, he was slated to be the antagonist at dinner, the kind of foil to the more level-headed King Lycaon. And it occurred to me that I was like, oh man, I want someone to jump in here and splash Rinberry and Nyx, because this would really build up the comic effect of what's going on. But in my mind, my immediate thought was like, wait, who can do that? That won't get their ass kicked 2 seconds later by you guys and get you thrown in prison. So this was super off the cuff thinking for me to be like, well, I know the character of Linus. I've put a lot of thought into him thus far. Could this be him that jumps in here? So you guys get an early introduction to his character. And it worked beautifully.
It was perfect. It felt like you didn't just think that up. Like we're supposed to we're led to the baths and we find out they're cold and then we get bullied by a child. All according to plan.
The prince.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great to hear then. That's so great to hear because I know a lot of times I do very much script a whole moment like that. But this bathhouse scene, I was not expecting at all. And trying to take elements and weave them into it was so much fun for me. But again, it definitely played like the way you guys were acting. I was like, oh, this is going to make sense. It's going to be a better introduction for this character and give you more one-on-one time with them, which is what ultimately happens here. You guys get a good 20 minutes of getting exposition and information directly from Linus rather than from King Lycaon, who may have given you a more flowery diplomatic answer.
Yes.
Linus is now giving you guys very truthful answers that while truthful are also still seen through the eyes of an insolent child who doesn't really see the world for what it is. You know, and again, Canopsia did such a great job of like always having a comeback for what Linus was saying, you know, and that was tough for me to try to keep up where I'm like, I'm going to be a strong father like my kid, or I'm going to be a strong king like my father. And Juno's just like, oh, so you mean a tyrant? And it's like, shit, now I have to say something again. And it's like, no, not like a tyrant, but someone that people respect. And you're just like, so an evil dude. And it was like, oh my God, dude. Like,
he's on point.
So much sass. It's so bad.
I love
especially
our
when it comes. Paladin. Yeah. No, he's just like insolent boy. I know what you are. You are scum beneath my boots. I'll be on the battlefield while you cower.
Yeah. I just I love how unified we are in not liking this kid. Like even Renberry couldn't resist retaliating because I was thinking like after getting splashed, I'm like, does Renberry just take this? Is he the past? Well, he's no longer a cleric. I was gonna say, is he the passful, peaceful cleric who just, but like, it's like I'm a healer, but and then
I'm a healer, but coxcomb.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, do no harm.
I'm not
this is just horseplay.
Exactly. Yeah. It ultimately it boiled down to, you know what? I'm not hurting the kid by giving like a taste of his own medicine. Let me levitate some water onto him. And I just think I think Renberry also like he can be petty too. He's not perfect.
Yeah, but also the way Linus describes to you guys, like his quote unquote diffusion of the situation was to be like, oh, I'm just messing with you guys, you know? Classic
shitty teen.
Yes, right. Gaslighting, classic gaslighting, where you're like, oh no, I was just playing around. You didn't have to go and be mean about it. You didn't have to go and get upset about it. I was just playing. And it was like, oh man. And you're just like, boom.
It's just a joke.
Yeah, you dunked the water on his head. If you step up to
the plate, you get dunked.
And I gave you guys that moment of like, ooh, you can see his true nature, that he's angry and he's bitter and vengeful in that moment. And the attendants who were kind of washing him kind of paused like, oh dude, is he gonna have like a fucking hissy fit? And then he laughs it off and he's like, oh, okay, you get the spirit of it now, you know? So yeah,
sure.
I think later on you kind of see that he still wanted to antagonize Renberry a little bit, but
he's like, I'm gonna get you back.
Everyone just like that.
Yeah, he laughed it off, but he wasn't going to let it go. So, but you guys do get the information of the like Menelaus and being on the trial from Linus at this point, rather than Lycaon, who again probably would have given you a less kind of accurate depiction of what was really going on. So this saved me a lot of effort in having you guys pry information out of Lycaon, and what would have been a very dangerous situation of like, again, you say something like you did to Linus to Lycaon in front of all those people, again, boom, back in jail, you know?
I'll pass lead to jail.
Yeah, this was very much that tightrope walk where I was like, okay, I have to be careful to not push you guys too hard where you do something that puts you in jail and then like gums up basically like the session, because that's not where I want you to be. If you choose that's where you want to go, that's on you, you know? But,
right, yeah. But no, we were not looking to cause trouble and get thrown into jail either.
Right. So, we were all walking that line, and that was very fun to me. That created a very realistic tension. That. Yeah.
Yes.
But getting that stuff and getting that antagonization between Canopsia and Linus before he finally kind of storms off a little bit, like, whatever, your culture, your society is just weak then, you know, and he kind of blows you off like he's going to leave. And the attendants, this was my second favorite thing that came of the whole interaction. The attendants are like, hey, you guys should be careful with Prince Linus. He's a little bit of a hothead and stuff like that. But, you know, King Lycaon's not like that. And he's a better representation of our people. So, you know, take it for a grain of salt, but like, don't get yourself in trouble because of Linus. And Juno, you said something akin, right? I should have wrote down the actual quote, but I just wrote down basically what you said, where you said, well, we can take the heat. We love bullying kids.
Yeah, I would say that.
You're like, yeah, that sounds right.
The Pristine Dream. Bullying
We on Pristine Dreams endorsed bullying children. 100% fully, without a doubt.
I feel like there's an asterisk there of like I said, this is a paraphrasing. So I think there's more specificity to what you were actually saying. But
probably.
Nevertheless, it was very funny. And I was like, that is freaking amazing. But the final moment before we leave out of there, as you guys are getting back dressed, Nyx does take the opportunity to go down to one of the further end pools that is abandoned and go ahead and get themselves cleaned up and washed in a more manner befitting their own personal modesty. But as Canopsia is getting back dressed again, there's a moment where you stop and you're like, man, how does my butt look compared to everybody else's here? To which I'm pretty sure Rinvari and Bran were just like, yeah, looks good, bro. It's good. Yeah, you're fine. It's just totally, well, sorry. But yeah, great. You know, it's like, oh, man.
We back up our board.
You have a lovely backside. Not that I spend a lot of time observing it. Maybe I do. None of your business. I'm running away.
Straight up.
Whatever.
I'm not afraid to admit another man's ass. That's fine.
It's okay to be like, it looks good, dude. Working out. That's good. Yeah. Was it as good as these other people? Sure, bud. You know? You're doing good. Maybe a couple more squats.
I think maybe in their culture, it's like they do daily squats. They do daily like workouts to perfect the glutes. In Arcadia, right. Arcadia, the land of perfect ass.
I mean, you know, when you get a king like that, you're
I know.
Yeah.
The king, the standard for his people in all ways, including the butt.
What's your supplement regimen, bro?
Oh, you know.
So we go from here finally to the actual scripted event of the whole session of where you guys are supposed to go and have a feast with the king, and he will have this sort of Xenia. He will respect this Xenia, which again, I may or may not be using this term sort of correctly. I use it very much like a verb, and I think it's supposed to be just an idea, like a custom of doing this rather than a straight up verb, but we'll make it our own.
Yeah.
Does come from ancient Greek tradition. A lot of this session and the session previous, of course, is taking a lot of inspiration from ancient Greece. And this was an idea of like, don't disrespect people. And there's a lot that goes into this that we're not going to discuss now because we haven't gotten too deep into it in game yet. But when we do, we'll come back and we'll chat more about it. But again, the basic principle, you receive someone as a guest, right? You feed them, you make sure they're okay, you clothe them, you treat them with respect, like a guest, even a stranger. They're a guest in your house. Then you can be like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, yeah,
exactly.
Why are you wandering around my property, man?
Yeah. And I remember Lycaon, kind of like explain like, yeah, a Xenia, blah, blah, blah. And Rinveria like, oh, what's Xenia? And Lycaon explains it, and Rinveria just like, well, that's lovely. I love the concept of Xenia.
Yeah.
Cheers to Xenia.
Foreshadowing.
Me. Intensely staring into the future.
Again, it's a fun word to say, and
I love it. Yes.
In theory,
Xenia.
It's a beautiful concept, and like treat a stranger like you would a guest until you discover they have a nefarious purpose. This is essentially innocent until proven guilty, And a nice way of respecting outsiders. Go ahead, Cypher.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that like this culture we're experiencing is guided by Xenia. An obligation on their part to be hospitable to outsiders before anything else. Meanwhile, like Nyx in particular, and I don't want to speak for everybody else, but like she's suspicious. And like it's interesting, like she's not necessarily like xenophobic as we might use the word these days, but literally just like, cautious, and actually in Nyx's situation, like more or less skittish. And it's kind of funny to me, or, just kind of like that, they're showing such hospitality, and Nyx is like, she remains a little bit hostile to a point.
Yeah, it definitely seems like an unusual custom for a fantasy setting. Where there's lots of danger out there and magic and people who can disguise themselves with illusion and all this sort of stuff, that it seems like this would be a dangerous kind of tactic. But again, being based on like a real life custom and being very much woven into the story of King Lycaon, which again, I discourage any of my players reading before the end of the entire adventure here. But if they did go back and reread later, is very much connected to Arcadia and rooted in its history here. But we're going to explore those topics throughout the next few sessions that we play in this adventure in Arcadia. And we'll learn more about it as we go along. But in this context, you guys are asked to come and join King Lycaon in like the royal feast of the day, and they have prepared a very interesting meal for you guys. And I'm going to pull up Linus's picture with our meal here. So they have a meal of all uncooked foods and cured meats. So what was your guys' take on the dinner being served?
Oh, no.
Giant charcuterie board. Cool.
Yes.
Like, okay, from the art that you've shown here, and like the imagery of Prince Linus, I was looking at everything from what I could see on the table, and I was like, oh, Okay, it looks like we have some raw meat here. Okay, so maybe we're doing something with that. Maybe there's some old fashioned way of like, I don't know, cooking it. They have
Hot pot.
Hot pot, some shabu
maybe
action.
cold pot,
Yeah.
so it makes it so cold. It somehow makes it hot.
Yeah.
And I don't know. But stupid shit. But I was like, surely we can have some of our questions answered. We can learn some stuff about the king and what's going on here. And as we got further into the dinner, it was not just the meat that was raw. It was everything. Everything was raw. Everything.
Yep.
And
raw potatoes.
It's raw.
It's Gordon Ramsay's nightmare dinner right here. It's raw.
Still meat that is still bloody, and it's just like, yeah, yummy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it takes a minute for Bran and Renveri to kind of piece together the whole idea of like, oh my gosh, they don't have any way of heating food here. Yeah. So everything is freaking raw. And Nyx is, Cypher's like, hey, I'm going to try to produce flame and cook this meat in my fucking hand because I'm not eating this raw meat, and this comes about right after they present like the centerpiece, because Bran realizes, oh, there's no centerpiece. There's no center cut, and all these cured meats are definitely like something that takes time to create. But
yeah, and like cured meat, not raw.
Right.
Like the meat on the table was
cured.
actually it was cooked. It was cured. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, these would be things like a salami, bologna, that kind of stuff, cured meats like that. Right. So not too terrible to eat, it's fine. But the centerpiece when they bring it out would be like Bran notices, oh, no one else is like eating a lot of this food. And then you realize, oh, there's a centerpiece missing. And the whole idea of like this Xenia is to share like this main piece, split it amongst yourselves. And again, this is kind of my own interpretation of it. This is a very strict ruling of it to say like this main piece is the piece to share, but it's driven by the actual story, which again, we'll find out more about later on. But placing this out there for you guys, this completely raw piece of meat, and they start slicing it up and serving it out to everyone. I mean, bloody raw, right? And not cured, probably a little bit salted, but
fresh off the carcass. Yeah.
Exactly.
Salted though, not cured, seasoned.
Yes, exactly. And they're serving it up, especially to Renveri there. And Nyx is like, sees Renveri's trepidation, everyone else being like, I'm not super thrilled about this. Bran being like, I don't give a fuck, but Nyx is like, I'm going to produce this flame right here. And because I am offended at my friends having to eat this. So this moment in our session, I am like, holy shit, I don't know what's happening. Right. Like this to me was completely unexpected. I figured you guys would be a little bit like, ill, this is fucking gross. But that was my expectation. I don't know if you put this in the original document you sent me, Endo. I'm sure it's in there somewhere, but I did not recall that Renveri was like a vegetarian.
I mentioned it in a previous session.
Okay.
Like, yeah, at the seance thing. Like everybody eating and stuff, and just offhandedly like, oh yeah, Renveri doesn't participate or partake in the pig because he doesn't eat meat. But if there's other stuff you can eat there, and you're like, oh yeah, there's breads and fruit. And I'm like, okay, great. And then I'm surprised to hear that like this was not intended.
No, this was 100% escaped my brain, dude.
Yeah. And like I don't think I particularly wrote down why he is averse to eating meat. It's like a diet he associates with his past, like being with his bandit brothers and doing bandit things. So for him, like he absolved from eating meat when he decided to walk a holy path.
Yeah.
Because that was him trying to like further separate himself from who he used to be. So being confronted again with this meat he's supposed to eat, and it's nasty because it's purely bloody, and not cooked, and just I just imagine like the smell of it and everything, very uncomfortable.
No,
and,
yeah. This is so funny because I typically edit all of our videos, so I'm watching them again at least one other time. But you know what's in my head from that part of the session? For one, I'm very focused during the actual session on like I have to play those reveal videos that you guys have never seen. I've got to put up the divine favor icons on the screen that I've never used before. So I have a lot of mechanical things in front of me, right? But on the recap, when I'm editing it later and I'm watching it again, my thought falls solely on Endo, who's me and you are talking about a real pig cookout, and eating like the crispy bits of the ear and stuff like that. Like that was in my head. That rules. So I lost that connection to Renveri completely. So I was I was like, holy shit, I don't know what to do, because like the whole point of this was to share a gross meal and bond together. But I fucked up and I put something that your character really would not want to eat. And that was not my intention at all. So that's so funny.
I didn't think you fucked up at all. I thought it was a very interesting position to put Renveri in.
Same.
Oh,
and
man.
Made him uncomfortable.
It did.
I really a part of like role playing for me is like I really like having my characters end up in situations that they're not used to and also make them uncomfortable. And I also love bringing up bad feelings for them and making them navigate that. So and I remember during that, like being very quiet after like expressing like Renveri is super uncomfortable with this and he is not sure what to do. And like I'm really touched by like everybody wanting to help Renveri here, and Juno / Kay trying to navigate this problem for him. Like, well, what if he like eats the other food and stuff?
Right.
What if we have dietary restrictions?
Yes.
Yeah, motherfucker. Some of us don't want to eat meat.
Yeah.
Some of us are literally allergic to milk. Like we can't. We can't.
I just
control. I know milk isn't being, but sometimes it's what plants crave.
No, there's literally this so there's this moment where Linus like you mentioned, well, what if people have dietary restrictions and they can't eat meat like this? And Linus is like, are your people so weak they can't stomach raw meat? And I was like 100% channeling like my Uncle Roger, like watching those YouTube videos, of Uncle Roger, like just dunking on people not eating spicy food. And it was like, that was so quick out of my mouth to be like, are your people so weak they can't eat this raw food? But the whole time in my head, I'm like, dude, do I back down from this? Like, I don't really want to send you guys to prison over this or break ties or fall apart the entire idea of what's happening here based on the fact that I chose something that Renveri would be that offended by eating. Offended's not the right word, but that confronted with having to eat. That was not my intention. So in my head, I'm struggling with like, dude, do I relent? Do I give them an out? Do I say, oh, well, you can eat this instead? Or do you do something else instead? Or do I stick by my guns? And I was like, let me stick by my guns a little bit and see how it plays out. Like maybe they're going to give me some pushback, but I want to see how much. And boy, that did not last long. Like I said, as Cypher picked up that piece of meat to be like, I'm going to produce flame on it. And then when it doesn't work, slamming it down on the table, standing up and being like, where's your fire here?
I love that.
Yeah. So I was like, oh man. So Cypher, what was going through your head in that moment? Like, what did you think was going to happen? Were you worried about getting sent to jail or chastised by King Lycaon? Or what were you thinking?
Oh, she didn't give a fuck. She wanted answers.
She never does, and I fucking love that. I fucking love her.
That was strike 3. First was cold water on her legs. The second was the cannonball by the shitty princeling, and then here was strike 3.
Yeah, so that fuse you mentioned earlier, it's finally burnt out.
Yeah, and she just popped off like a firecracker. And she also, like, I don't play her like this, but there's a lot of like intuition with her, I think. And I think that I bring that to her very quietly, like silently. I give her that a little bit because that's through. Oh, thank you. Like that's me behind her. And I think that she finds it very suspicious, and like it's not like her being like, these people are fucked up. She's just kind of wondering, like, like what is wrong here? Is this like, I don't know. What am I trying to say? Like, I'm trying to make it so that like Nyx she's angry that these things have happened. She's not, I don't think she's upset at the culture. I think that she's upset that that something else might be going on. Something underlying is going on, and they're going to get their asses handed to them somehow, some way. These people are covering up for something. They're not saying something. So finally, she's just like, where the fuck is it? Where's your fire? And
so
she wants
you're
the
more
answer.
to the point of just forcing the confrontation to the forefront of like the real issue here of like, what's the story with this? Because so far this is affecting everything about our adventure here so far. And you're just I want the answer to this. Otherwise we're going to keep having the same problem. That kind of sounds like what you're saying, is that like, as you keep butting heads with this no fire thing creating problems, it's like, let me just nip this in the bud. What is the problem with fucking fire here?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And she's also wondering if it's gonna keep affecting the party negatively.
Right. Now, let me ask you though. So in that moment, I'm like visibly stumped. I may have even said like, okay, give me a second. I am going to roll some dice and see what's going to happen. I was unsure in that moment, like, how should King Lycaon take this affront, right? Because it's seemingly a little bit disrespectful. You're at this guy's table demanding answers of a king. Like, I could see it being something that really pisses off a king, but I'm like, this guy seems a little more level-headed than that to me. And I was unsure. But the biggest issue here was that I hadn't thought through it in my head, right? This confrontation hadn't come about in my head. So I didn't have a resolve for it. So I was going to let the dice pick for me. A lot of times that's just fate deciding, and whatever will be, will be. And that keeps my game moving forward, right? But I do want to give a little piece of DM advice here, just very briefly. I never like to let my players see me sweat, but I sweat a lot. There's a lot of times where I'm like, fuck, I don't know where this is going. I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what they're asking me. I don't know if they're getting the point to what's going on. Right. But you're the narrator, right? As the GM, you're the host of the game. You're running the game, right? You don't want your players to feel like you don't know what the fuck's happening or going on, because then they're going to like lose faith in what's happening. And sometimes if you ask them after a game for help or even during a game, hey, what do you guys think about this? That's totally fine. But for the most part, I don't want people to see me trying to figure out shit that I should know. So there are a lot of times where you can just say, you know what, guys? This is going to be really good, but I got to jump to the restroom for a second. I've been holding it for like an hour. Give me a second. I'll be right back. Now I'm going to go think in the bathroom and come back, Exactly.
Like, yeah, let's take a little bathroom break. This is for everybody, not just me. Exactly. I have everything planned. Stop looking at me.
You put a big ass cookie in your mouth and then just hold one finger up like, oh, sorry. Like, just give me a second. Big bite. Yeah. So again, that's a personal thing for me. I try to play it as smooth as possible so people don't feel like things have gone off the rails. But in this particular moment, I'm on camera. We're in the middle of the game. We have to keep moving. So I'm going to roll the dice and whatever the dice say goes. But I love my dice roll on this. I got something in the 90s, which to me was like, okay, this guy's going to very much be cool about this. This is not. And then all these tumblers click into place in my brain. This would not be the first time he's been asked about this. This has not been the first time people have been indignant about it. It's not been the first time an outsider's been rude to him at his table. Like, this is a seasoned dude who's been through some shit. Nyx, a little girl who looks like a foreigner, some weird race that I've rarely ever seen. I don't give a shit about you. I'm not offended by you, So that role informed so many decisions for me that it was super helpful. So keep that in your bag of tricks, DMs out there. But I was genuinely, if you go back and watch that VOD, you watch that video here on YouTube, I am like, whoa, I fucking have no clue what to do here, because this might be in that bad spot I've been trying to avoid. But he proceeds to give you guys this answer that fire was once considered a gift from the gods. And as such, they renounce that gift because they feel like gods are demanding and ruthless and immoral. So what did you think of that, Nyx?
Definitely not what she expected to hear. This being, not a ploy that she demanded to be uncovered. This was more or less just like, again, this is just the way they are. This is what they believe. So in a way, Nyx's tail is between her legs a little bit. Oh, and she's just like, so she backed down. She's still miffed. I mean, that's just who she is. But when he explained it and was not didn't fight fire with fire, I guess, her fire with his lack of fire, I guess.
Yeah, pun intended, right?
Yeah. She just, she swallowed and was just like, all right, then, well, fuck this, sits back down.
That's
this still sucks here.
Yeah, I hate this place.
Yeah, you're like, well, that's dumb, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's interesting you say that, though, because as the DM trying to absorb all the information and make sure I'm saying the right thing and thinking it through as more than one character that's sitting at the table, I didn't pick up on that. I didn't realize that Nyx was satisfied with that answer, which is why I kind of asked you about it just now. Because to me, the next portion of what was going on that I registered was Rinveri being like, hey man, I'll eat the meat. It's fine, Nyx. Just relax. Don't go to that sounded to me like, don't get us arrested over me. I'll just eat it and we'll move on. So to me, that was a huge sigh of relief. And I was like, yes, let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember Rinveri, I think there was more questioning of the king. Well, what if we don't partake?
Right.
Are we your enemy? And the king being like, yeah, you don't fucking break bread with me. You're my enemy. Yeah. And in the moment, I was not thinking about this being yeah, we're breaking bread and we're being friends. It just seemed like a pointlessly enforced tradition. And I'm like, is this something about like trying to think of how to phrase this, kind of coming back to like kings and royalty and authority figures, like you know, enforcing their will, and their word is law, even maybe this isn't great. and just coming back to like traditions shouldn't just be followed because they're traditions, and that's actually something deeply in Rinveri's character, where he doesn't like being told to follow something simply because that's the way it's always been.
Doing something for something's sake doesn't necessarily always make sense.
Exactly. Like doing this because that's just how we've always done it is not a good reason to do something. And so it turned this, we're supposed to break bread together and make peace and be friends, into something like, you're in my kingdom, you will listen to my laws, and a way to control you. Right. He wasn't super into that. And it brought him back to places in his past and things he experienced. But him asking this and like getting basically like, if you don't do this, we're enemies. And that just solidified it for him. Like, I'll do it. Okay. It's not worth, getting my friends in trouble, getting anyone hurt, getting anyone jailed just because I have personal feelings about eating meat, And so he resolves there, and he looks at Nyx, and like he knows Nyx doesn't want to do it either. And he doesn't want to ever tell Nyx what to do. Like he loves giving Nyx her space to be herself because he loves her, loves everything about her, and doesn't think she needs people to really defend her or anything. And it's great to back her up. And he loves how Kay is always the first person to speak on behalf of Nyx being treated mis poorly. Yeah, or anyone being treated mis poorly. And Rinveri is more like, I'm back here to support you if you need me, but I'm gonna let you handle your thing. But and in that moment he looks over at Nyx, and he doesn't want to tell her like, you should eat the meat too. Right. He's making this decision for himself because he doesn't think it's worth getting anyone hurt or in trouble over his beliefs. And then I remember Kay looking over like, just do it, eat it.
It was.
We all gotta eat it.
Yeah. It's just like, it's so not worth like getting into an entire fight with this king and maybe even the entire mess hall and also a shitty son. I don't want that. I didn't want
exactly.
it.
And totally, absolutely, completely valid and understandable.
No, well,
but
wait.
This entire moment, I was like so quiet through like the whole bit, because I was just like thinking of like, okay, what's a way that we could like possibly get out? Oh, things are getting resolved. Okay. Oh no.
No, Dusk, you started off strong though, where when that meat hit Rinveri's plate, I remember you took it off their plate. And you're like, oh, they're not going to want this. And the carver was like, oh, there's plenty to go around. And then he gives you like an extra slice and then puts another one on Rinveri's plate. Because he's like, no, everyone will get one. But dude, if you want more, that's fine. And that was just my thought of like I'm, again, misreading the situation.
And then the mental mathematics began.
Yes, the gymnastics all around. And my absolute fucking favorite, like this may be quote of the game. We're going to put this on a t-shirt. I believe was the exact thing that Endo said. I want that on a t-shirt. Just in that Canopsia voice, I'll never not hear this. Is it not respectful to partake in a salad?
Yes, I loved that. That was so funny.
Is it not respectful to partake in a salad?
I'll buy a tote that says that.
He ate.
Oh yeah,
he ate. He ate.
And Linus just being like, "What the fuck, dude?" Like,
he's just like, "Is that not Like,
Yeah.
you can break bread. Like, is that not breaking bread? Eating a salad? Like,
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Like,
But
listen,
bread,
you
not a
want
salad?
you want me to take a bite of your food to be like, ooh, we're friends.
Yeah, and
I'm
is
taking
salad
a
not
bite of your
food?
salad. Is this
Exactly.
salad not respectable?
And it brings back to like what I was talking about, like enforcing traditions just because that's just how they've always been, and enforcing them to this exact T because
Right.
that's just how our ancestors have always done. And it's just like, that's stupid and you're stupid and I'm gonna eat the meat because I don't want my friends to die.
Yeah.
But again,
stupid, dumb, stupid. I hate all of you.
I did go back and never in my head did I think there'd be a moment where Lycaon would be upset with you guys. So I went back and I added in a new photo to our video of like Lycaon kind of being upset with you guys at like the what the fuck? But yeah, that ended up being like, wow, such a moment, you know? But again, him explaining like, no, we killed something today just to eat with you guys, and to not even partake in it is like super disrespectful and like not the custom, you know? And I think hearing all that, coupling with the fire thing and all that sort of stuff, again, with that being kind of the custom I had kind of laid out in my own head, I think it made a little bit more sense to you guys of why this was happening, but I still was like, at what point do I relent? You know, because like, again, I don't want to be pushing you guys too far to break some tenet of Rinveri's over this, you know? But luckily, yeah, Rinveri was like, it's fine. And then you're just double fisting wine the entire rest of dinner.
Yeah, and he doesn't even cut into the meat and like take a little bite. He just like, he wants this done with so fast. He just grabs the meat and like bites a hunk out of it and just slams it back on the plate and then double fists his wine.
And I remember even saying like the attendants are there just refilling your wine goblets back up and you're just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, it was just like ping ponging back between both goblets. I don't want to taste this anymore or be here.
So again, getting some great drama out of this RP that was very unexpected. So
yeah.
The dinner ends up with Lycaon finally asking you guys questions of your situation and what's going on. Juno, you do a fabulous job of being like, hey, maybe we shouldn't fucking tell this guy everything about what's going on because this is getting very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I believe I was having this I was saying it as Kay, and Kay was starting to talk about it. And then as he got further into it, he was like, oh, I think this might be a bad idea. If I say this, you know, things were already very tense just moments ago. And if I bring it up, I feel like we're going to be right back where we started.
Yes.
So
in a very wise move, you were like, considering the crux of what we're doing here is to awaken the gods. Maybe this dude who doesn't like the gods, we shouldn't tell him that's our fucking plan, you know? And I was like, bless you, Juno. Yes. Good. Well played, my friend.
Yeah. It's like Kay is, you know, after listening and hearing everything and just like being a part of everything, it's very quick for him to pick up on, oh shit. Oh, the words are already leaving my mouth. Okay. we need to parallel park this shit delicately. So he tried to be very specific about his wording, not trying to downright lie,
right?
But not exactly telling the full 100% truth either, where it obscuring parts of the truth, I'll say.
Yeah, which, they don't need every little detail.
Some could say is lying. Some could say is still lying, but you know, shut the fuck up. You're not here. I'm the one piloting this ship.
I think you did a great job. Yeah.
Thanks. I felt like I was fumbling it super hard. I always feel like whenever I open my mouth and I say shit as K, I'm like, why the fuck did I say that? Why did I say that?
No, honestly, had you started
that after I said, is it wrong to partake in a salad?
fucking perfect.
Gold.
I remember sitting there like, why do I? What's the point? What's the point? It's like, what's the fucking? I'm
The
so
point
bad
is to have fun.
Yeah.
It is a point to have fun, but I like to try and think of like, it's fun to think of like cool one-liners. And then,
Yeah, you do. You nail it.
Oh yeah.
You do great.
Like,
Yeah.
But
feeling
again,
like you dropped the ball is like, shitting your pants all the time.
But no, if you'd have gotten too much into, again, your revelation of the gods and your quest for awakening the gods and all this sort of stuff, this would have definitely, again, put us right back in tension and with some serious discussion between Lycaon and you guys as to what the merit of what you're doing, so given that it wasn't super important, I'm glad you chose to omit that because I'm sure there's a lot of quality good stuff that could go down in a conversation like that, but it definitely would have been confrontational. And
yes.
Yeah, at this point we were peaking confrontation already. So it was a little scary whether or not you guys were going to tell them certain aspects of your quest. But again, things played out in just the perfect way that you knew, okay, maybe 5 minutes ago I would have told you this whole truth, but right now you're going to get the broad strokes, my man. That's it. And we're out of here. But luckily, King Lycaon is like, okay, I know, like, my people know the old lady you're talking about, right? We can get you to her house. My guards can take you right there. So whenever you're done eating, and you guys were like, we're done. Psh, goodbye. Like,
yeah, we're done. Yeah. We're super done. Down's one more goblet wine before we go. But I thought that was very strange for him to offer that much. And I think if Rinveri hadn't been pounding wine back and forth, he would have, that would have been a moment where I've been like, can I roll insight on this? Like, to provide us escort to the house. Like, it seemed excessive to me. I don't know if you intended it that way. Like, if that was like he's doing this for a reason other than I'm going to be hospitable because I'm a kick-ass king.
Okay,
so and I'm going to be nice to outsiders.
You want 100% DM transparency?
Yes.
All right. I didn't want you to fiddle fuck around the city. I just wanted you to go to the next part of the story that I wanted you to play.
Fair.
I don't think, I totally respect that. But I think, like, we were ready to be like, we're getting out of here and we're going to speed run our way out the fuck out of the city.
No, totally.
At least Rinveri would have liked to do that personally.
Totally fair. But I've been in this situation where I'm like, okay, this is your objective in the city. And someone goes, well, I want to look for an armor shop and I want to buy a magic item. And then you have 45 minutes of shopping that ultimately would have had no bearing on the story. So what do we need to do it for?
Exactly. Yeah, I get it. I mean, like, is if we had not been directly escorted, is there anybody here who would have been like, I want to go check something out in the city once we were let loose?
What do you think, Cypher, Bran?
Quest.
Yeah.
You're also team
ready to leave.
Yeah. What about Kay? Also, like, let's get to that fucking house.
Yeah. I think Kay was also kind of pushing to just, like, after everything, he definitely did not want to linger.
Exactly.
There was in his mind, there was absolutely no reason for it. After the whole showdown and Kay almost making the hugest verbal fucking social faux pas ever, and again giving himself a little bit of his own heart attack a little bit as he's like, oh my god, I need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
There's also the point later when you guys arrive at the house that Bran makes a roll and discovers that you took a very indirect route to get where you were going.
Yeah.
So there was definitely that element of like, I knew that I wanted you guys to go straight there and not take up a bunch of game time, but also go a route that would take you a longer time. And if I just gave you directions or a piece of paper, I was afraid that you guys would be able to suss out that it wasn't the most direct route, you know? So there was that element as well. So again, 100% transparency, but forgot about that. So yes, it was kind of a two-prong thing there.
Totally fair. And and also being worried that we would have fucked around as soon as we were released from the palace. Totally valid. But sorry, go ahead, Dusk.
If I had remembered the alchemical fire, there might have been like, and then I probably would have been like, nope, not worth it. Ready to leave.
Yeah, well,
fair.
Considering, Endo, you tried to talk to Menelaus before you left. Right? You were like you were asking me like, hey, you know, were these guards there? Is there a chance that I can go see him? This clued me into like,
that's true. I was curious.
Yeah. Do you guys want to do other stuff? I wanted to know where he
was. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to avoid that. I wanted to avoid, excuse me. I think I just whacked my microphone, but I wanted to avoid.
You're good. Didn't come up.
Okay.
Ow, that hurt.
Oh, you hit Juno.
Sorry, microphone.
you went up
beans.
But yeah, ultimately, I wanted to avoid all of that and get us the most direct route possible that would also include the time I needed you to take in case you sped run to the location also. So it was like, I didn't want you to take too long. I didn't want Goldilocks the shit. I didn't realize it. I didn't want you to take too long. I didn't want you to go too fast. I needed you to be there exactly when I wanted you to be there. So
yeah. And I did forget about Rinberry. So with the way the dinner had gone so far, I think that eliminated us wanting to just chill out in the city. But I know for Rinberry personally, everything that had happened in the discussion and then his own personal feelings being dredged up because he's getting messy on wine. He's concerned about Menelaus and the way he's being treated here. So that did come up and he is worried about the prince. But
Well, speaking of trying to hit just the right moment, I don't want to for us to take too much longer. So we're going to kind of speed run through the final part of our session, which is a little bit shorter anyways. But we end up, you guys end up across town at Grandma's house out here, right? As you guys kind of approach and show up here at Grandma's house, Nyx and Rinberry head in. As the guards kind of rap on the door and the door's open, they're like, oh, go right on in. And there's a great discussion of like, hey man, are your doors like normally open in this city? And as me, the DM is like, oh, shit, that was fucking sus as shit. Endo's like, well, they can't smell locks, so it would make sense they don't have locks. And I'm like, yes, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, and Rinberry being a messy drunk at the guards, like, why are you still here?
Yes.
Go away.
Yeah.
I love messy drunk Rinberry.
Bran Hunters marks the guards, so you know if they try to return, because you're again still feeling they're kind of suspicious, but you're not feeling well and are probably going to yak up the raw food that you ate. So you're trying to encourage Bran to go in as well. Like, dude, don't worry about me, I'm fine. But you want a moment of like solitude to like yak your guts by yourself. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, like a very important part of Rinberry is he tries to stay composed. He's losing it here a little bit, but he's like, I still have the presence of mind to not want to throw up in front of people I care about or anyone. So yeah, Bran, I'm fine. I'm just gonna lay down.
So take care, I'll be inside.
You guys head inside, right? And you hear some sounds calling out to you. Who's there? Oh, come inside. You guys mosey through the kitchen, right? Which, yes, either way you guys went would have led you to the same room. But you guys went through the kitchen part, which was interesting because Nyx beelined it immediately for the bread that was there, right? In true Nyx fashion. But both you and Bran discover that this bread is very, very old. like you have no idea how long it's been here. But this kitchen is very weird because, like we described Arcadia, there are elements of it that seem like ancient Greece, elements of it that seem like a more contemporary fantasy setting, a more medieval times part thing. This definitely seems like a more medieval times type era. And they do have the conveniences of bread and cooktop and things like that, but they clearly don't have any fire here. So there is something not aligning with the age of their culture and what's actually going on. So there is some suspicion here. But Nyx and Canopsia do get called into the final room. And Bran finally kind of leaves Rinveri behind and goes into the other. But rather than storming into the same room with the others, hangs back in the kitchen and is just checking it out a little bit. So you guys got to say that. I see you writing in chat. Say what you're saying there.
Bread buddies.
Yay, bread buddies.
There's a meme that I came across recently where this person just posted, "I just don't know how to act around warm bread."
I'll see if I can get that and throw it up here for us. Then that'd be a gas. But
Quickly, I really love like the threads between Bran and Nyx. They're very fun.
Yes.
So ultimately, we end up with this sort of confrontation taking place in our final bedroom here. And this to me is the culmination of a lot of legwork on my part across 2 whole sessions to set this up and get you guys exactly to this moment. And I'm happy to say it played out as good as I could have expected, better than I could have expected. So you guys show up and find Grandma in bed. And I show you this very nice image here of Grandma in bed. So Nyx, Canopsia, what were your guys' thoughts on this image?
I don't.
Harry.
Harry. Grandma's using some good masking techniques. Very good. It's very, very pog of her. Grandma. What's going on with them eyes?
Now, I mentioned I left the clip in at the end of this session where I'm like, man, you guys were like on point calling this adventure the whole way, right? Where like right from the get-go when Madame Rava's like, oh, hey, here's my cloak that I want you guys to take and like find my grandma through the other side of the woods. And you guys were like, dude, are we doing like a little Red Riding Hood story? And I was like, all right, motherfuckers, calm down over there. And I'm like, here's this, this prince who belongs to a family of people that are very hairy people, and they live in this city, and all of their silverware is made of solid gold, and his enemies imprison him in silver. Well, fancy that, and it's like immediately you guys like meet Menelaus and you're like, this guy's fucking werewolf or something with these silver chains. What's going on? And I'm trying so hard to downplay it. I'm like, nope, this is other stuff going on. But you guys were calling it. So at this moment, Cypher, did you see this image and know exactly what was going on? Did you know before you walked in the door? What do you think?
Oh yeah, like I knew what was going on, but I want to play.
Yeah.
Like I want to see what your spin is on it, and I want to be a part of playing it out. So yeah, like definitely like I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. I get this.
That's great. So I appreciate that you're just like, okay, so this has been a different spin, a different take on the story. And I hope that was enough for everyone to kind of fuel your interest in a very classic story told in a very different way. And I think in terms of playing D&D, playing through kind of classic fantasy adventure tropes is very common. But playing through like a kind of twisted version of a fairy tale is not particularly very common. And it's kind of a big idea for what Pristine Dreams is. So what do you guys think of that being sort of the forefront of your story?
That fairy tales is the commonality here.
Yes.
I love it a lot.
Yeah,
It's very tasty, very fun premise.
Oh yeah, it's always fun to have your own spin when it comes to things such as these.
Yeah, and it's just like a fun way to reimagine familiar things.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, we know these stories, and sure, that helps us pick up certain story beats.
Mm.
But
Oh yeah.
we still want to know, like, well, what are you doing with this?
Yeah.
You know, it makes for a fun adventure.
Okay, great. So there is a lot of differences and twists here. And again, kind of mixing the story here of Little Red Riding Hood with kind of the classic Greek telling of where the idea of werewolves kind of comes from, you know, this classic King Lycaon and everything like that. Was to me, I'm like, ooh, I think I'm on to something here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. I'm glad that it was engaging and intriguing and not like, oh, I know this story, I guess I'll just play it out.
No, not at all. Yeah.
There was definitely a moment of me DMing of like, we got here, right? We got here to this point. And I'm like, Juno, just ask the fucking question. Like, I need you to, buddy. I need you to. And so thank you so much for indulging me. You know?
Thanks for having me. I love it here. It's great.
So because some of these episodes aren't officially out yet, I'm not sure if you guys have seen that episode 21. The last episode here that is Grandma's house is actually titled What BBEG You Have. You know?
Oh, I love that.
Oh my god.
That's good.
That's good.
So this was a lot of fun getting here. And again, a lot of fun for you and Cypher to ask Grandma those questions. You know, what big teeth you have? Big eyes you have, big ears you have, all that sort of stuff, like leading up to it. And then, of course, the big reveal that Grandma with them hairy arms that were not glamored quite as well as her face and mask and everything. Kind of a little bit of a cute giveaway to the fact that this is, of course, a werewolf in disguise, you know, our big bad wolf, so to speak. But of course, dressed like Menelaus, like King Lycaon, and giving you that impression, like you realize it's him and he transforms into this wolf right in front of you. I'm sorry, Dust, what'd you say there?
Werewolf in disguise.
For sure.
Wow. That was good.
No, thanks.
We finally get to this kind of big bag, this big confrontation, and King Lycaon howls out into the night, causing a fear check for everyone. So much so that even Renveri, all the way outside, kind of yakking your guts up and a little bit drunk, get that chill down your spine from this horrific howl out into the woods or out into the night. And like I said during session, it has some pretty gnarly ramifications that we're going to find out about at the beginning of session 6.
Oh.
So overall, final impressions of session 4 and Arcadia itself. Let's go ahead and start with Nyx and just work our way down. What'd you guys think? You're just like, could have used more butts.
We're all thinking that.
Oh yeah.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
What you're asking me what I think about everything as a whole?
Yes. Yeah. Your impression of Arcadia and everything that happened in it.
Yeah, I loved it. Like I just from, arriving there and seeing how beautiful the visual was, like I just knew like adventure was literally on the horizon of that visual that you gave us. And so we were going to like definitely get into some hijinks with the prince in the condition that he is. And there we go. Horizon. There it is. And then, Nyx was not expecting such, hospitality, to the point where like she was sure something fucked was going on. And yeah, she's at this point, at the end of this particular chapter, she's feeling a little vindicated. Kind of like, there is something fucked up going on.
I think that again, like last Tavern Talk was a big thing that everyone was like, we're just waiting for that other shoe, that underbelly of this city.
I was just thinking about that. Yep.
Yeah. So Endo, what did you think? Did it have the seedy underbelly you were thinking, or?
Yes. Like being here was kind of a roller coaster, right? Mm-hmm. We come up here, we see this beautiful visage, like after escaping the cold forest, and it's like, wow, finally it's warm, it's beautiful here, it's light. What the fuck is wrong with it? Oh, they're trepidatious of outsiders, but that's okay. Hey, at least like their king seems pretty gracious and welcoming. Oh, I don't like the traditions you enforce here. Oh, it's I don't think I like the way you're treating your son, your other son, and you're raising an asshole. And then yeah, like it felt like a very interesting roller coaster of expectations, and even following along with the whole werewolf thing, Red Riding Hood thing. Like even knowing those things are happening here, finding out like what's happening next was fun. And I love being here in Arcadia in this little adventure, and
nice.
Very not having a good time, and he hates
it. Fair. All right, Dusk.
Beautiful, beautiful place. It's gorgeous. I feel... Ironically, I think if there wasn't the quest, I feel like Brad would actually possibly vibe in some sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
He's built different heart emoji. But like currently it's just like, oh, things are happening that I am not a fan of to both party and myself.
Yeah.
Where is the other shoe? How's it going to drop? All right, let's fucking go. Time to fucking brand slam a werewolf. This is what I've been waiting for.
Hell yeah.
You're like,
oh
shit.
I'm very good at.
Yeah, Brand's like, oh, maybe I should have introduced myself sooner. I'm the monster hunter.
Oh, yeah.
That howl is just a beckoning call, huh?
All right, Juno, what'd you think?
Go to hell. Go to hell. Fuck you. On a real note, Arcadia, we could have had something.
Oh.
We could have had something really special, I think. But you got a shit ass little prince, and to quote Canopsia, I don't mourn, or I will mourn for the people who have to live underneath the princeling.
Yes, that was a good one.
For them. I'm mourning for them. Godspeed, Arcadia. We're gonna need it.
All right, so with session 6 on the horizon, now that I'm sure you guys are like, yeah, we ain't fucking giving you no more ideas. What do you guys have in terms of fears or expectations for session 6?
Personally, I would really hate it if it turned out the whole time we actually had silver weapons. Like, I think really, like, if it ended up that Rand had a silver sword or something, or that would just be the worst.
That'd be so lame.
I hate that.
You say that, but ironically, the like name of his monster hunting order was the Silver Blades.
Well, I would hate if somehow there was a physical manifestation of his old order that he had in his hand, ready to fucking stab Lycaon.
I'm sure it totally won't backfire if we accidentally kill the king or something.
No, why would it? Let's be fine. Yeah, I really have no idea what to expect from here. We're not in a good spot at the moment. Me especially. And I'm just thinking like, man, Renberry, I understand why you tried to drink down the resurfacing trauma, but I wish you didn't. And didn't get a whole bunch of debuffs and separated yourself from the party. So the characters, kind of, they'll do what they'll do.
At least the threat is on the inside.
Yeah, with his 3 friends, he doesn't know what's going on. He just now feels that weird, ominous chill that makes him feel bad.
You're just like, why is everybody yelling?
Why is everybody yelling? Why do I feel even more like shit? Quiet down. I'm trying to sleep on this porch.
Well, anything anyone looking forward to for session 6?
It'd be crazy if the werewolf or the monster hunter got bit by a werewolf. That'd be crazy.
Oh.
Well,
that is interesting. I am looking forward to beating up a werewolf and fighting a werewolf.
Nice.
Oh, same.
And just I'm interested in seeing how this combat goes and everything afterwards. Because like we're not done in Arcadia yet. And just really excited to see where we go from here because I have no guesses. No guesses.
Same.
Well, I'm
so excited to see what happens.
Yeah, that is awesome. I know there was a lot of trepidation going into the final bit here, especially with Cypher exclaiming that they were holding the cloak like a smudge stick from Phasmophobia out in front of them, walking into Grandma's house, like, just knowing they were walking into trouble. So I think there's a little bit of sort of sussing out to do of still trying to understand the situation, like behind, like, why are you kind of being nice to my face, trying to kill me behind my back? Like, what the fuck is going on? So I think that there will be some revelations in that sense. And how exactly you fare through this fight is also something I am very much looking forward to finding out, as I'm sure our viewers at home are. So with that, we hope you all will join us right here at D20 Dreamland for session 6 of Pristine Dreams, which will be coming out starting next week. So thank you guys for joining us here tonight. Thank you to my amazing party here for playing with me and vibing with me and just taking the time to delve into what makes our game a game, and for giving me way more credit than I'm probably due, considering I made up a bunch of shit and you guys were like, we didn't even notice. You're so awesome. I was like, yay.
Dude, it's called improv. Yeah,
it's called improv.
Thank you.
Game. Thank you for DMing.
No problem. It works both ways because definitely you guys have a litany of like quotable moments. If I had to pick my favorite quote of the episode, I think we all should try to pick one. Mine's has to be, is it not respectful to partake in a salad?
I love that. I weep for those who will live under your rule, Prince.
Right?
Yes.
That's so metal.
Okay with the bangers. No, I'm also still incredibly partial to the salad quote, and but also like I don't know, both of those would be cool on merch, on a coffee mug.
No, we can't forget. We can take the heat. We love bullying kids.
Do not put that on the shirt.
No, right. I want to wear it.
I will wear it.
Don't put that on a shirt.
Yeah.
Carl's making his way across the bottom to remind all the beautiful people out there to go ahead and like and subscribe to the video if you made it this far and are having a good time joining us here on Tavern Talk. We will see you next time in session 6 of Pristine Dreams. Thank you guys for joining us. Dream on, dreamers. Say goodnight, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
See you next time.
Good night.
Fuck you. Sorry, I did it for
Fuck
Juno.
you.
I gotta tell you, this was probably the most I laughed out loud editing anything ever. So if you guys get the opportunity to rewatch these sessions, like they are like that, a bath is a bath. That whole session in the bathhouse is like a fucking riot, dude.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch these back. I love watching back on the session.
Yeah.
They're very good. So thank you guys. Excellent job as always, not only tonight, but in that amazing game. I'm very much looking forward in a couple weeks when we jump into session 6.
Same.
Yay.
Yeah. Same.
All right, I'm stopping the recording.